Hello. So I want to just make a quick video about a website I discovered a little while ago now that can be useful for flying long range to work out what heading to fly on and what altitude you might need to fly to maintain line of sight between 2 points. It's called heywhatsthat.com, and I'm just going to briefly outline how to use it. Now, I don't know how exactly accurate the altitude data will be for us flying. Um, but what I kind of do is use this as as kind of a minimum or a guide, really. Um, so what you do is once you load it up, click on New Panorama. So you go to the map and you pick somewhere that you're going to fly. So let's say for talk's sake, yeah, let's go to Australia. Let's go to satellite view. So let's pick somewhere that I've been. Uh, let's go to the Blue Mountains. Sydney, Bathurst. So let's say we're going to take off from a field. Here we go. This one looks good. Let's say we're going to take off from this field in Bathurst. So you go to it and you click on it. I have down here it's set to metric. So you click on your takeoff spot, and on this side, this is kind of where your antenna is going to be. So I'm say a meter and a half tall, and I have my antenna on my head on my goggles. So we'll say 1.5 meters, and we give it a name. So we'll call it test and submit request. And it'll load up the terrain data for the surrounding area. And in a second, you'll see some red marks on the map, and that's basically what you can see line of sight from that spot. So if we were flying to anywhere that has the red, we can already see that from where we're standing. But let's say, for talk's sake, we're going to fly from Bathurst and we want to go to there's a Blue Mountain National Park, Katoomba. So we want to fly from Bathurst up here down to Katoomba. So what we're going to do is just click on your spot and it'll draw a line between the two. And down here, then click Compute Line of Sight. Now, what that's telling us, first of all, is that our takeoff spot is here. Takeoff spot is 647 meters above sea level. And the point that where we want to fly to here in Katoomba is here. And it's 957 meters above sea level. So if we were to fly between the two, we would fly on a bearing of 106 degrees, and it's an 80-kilometer distance. Now, this is the important kind of bit here. So for us to maintain line of sight between our flight in Bathurst and Katoomba, I would either need to be 7,559 meters tall, or on a very tall ladder, or standing on the ground. The plane, when it reaches Katoomba, needs to be 1,560 meters above ground level, and we know that the ground level in Katoomba is 957. So if we kind of just round that up to say 1,000, we need to be 2,500 meters roughly above sea level in Katoomba. So we can show that up here in these parameters. This line is basically the line of where we would be flying. So we're looking along the path of where the plane would be. We can see that there's some hills on the left and the right, and we've managed to just, on our flight, thread between these two. So this is where we go to our parameters too, and we pick a few details that'll kind of just help us along. We'll say it's curved Earth, and we know that Katoomba is 597 957, say 1,000 meters above sea level, and it's telling us that we need to be 1,500 meters above ground level, so effectively 2,500 meters above sea level. So we go in here and we put in 2,500, and that'll change this little graph, and it shows you then we're standing here and we're taking off, and by the time we get to Katoomba, we need to be up here to just let our straight line radio connections clip just past these peaks to get out to here. Now, as you can see, our radio frequencies are kind of our links are literally just clipping each one of these points. So in reality, out in Katoomba, probably going to need to be about 3,000 to let your radio signals properly clip past these. And you can kind of use these these values here to zoom in, extend the graph, kind of accentuate the peak so you can zoom in and actually see what your radio frequencies are doing. If we say, for example, we were using 1.3 analog, you'd see that it actually widens out this cone. So yeah, if you were using analog, you'd probably want to be around there just to give a proper width for your signal to get past. If we were using 2.4 analog, you can see it's narrower band again. If we were using, say, 5.2, quite a narrow little band. So this is kind of just a useful tool to kind of work out if we're our flight paths. So for example here, if I wanted to fly from Bathurst to Katoomba, I would need to be flying a heading of 106 degrees. It's a distance of 80 kilometers, and I'm realistically going to have to be 3,000 meters above sea level at the end point to maintain line of sight. So it kind of means then on the likes of this flight, I kind of know that by 20 kilometers, I kind of need to be 1,100 or so meters up. By 40 kilometers, almost 2,000 meters up. 60 kilometers, 2,500 meters up as a nice steady ascent. So yeah, just one tool that I kind of use to estimate my altitudes, my headings, so I can kind of just plan ahead for my flights.